normally.
No, she was having one of her best days.
The Clancy family made national headlines back in January of 2020.
The transcript arrives dry. Commonwealth of Massachusetts versus Lindsay Clancy. Direct examination of Patrick Clancy. The prosecution calls its star witness, the husband, the father. But the words that follow do not read like an accusation. They read like a defense. She was having one of her best days. Think of a driveway, frozen over in January, the car still warm from the drive, the engine ticking as it cools, with a takeout bag from a restaurant 20 minutes away sitting on the passenger seat. Never brought inside. That is where the story splits in two. The paperwork already knew.
He's been lauded as the prosecution's star witness, the person who can give true insight into what happened that fateful day in January 2023. But since his 3 young children, 5-year-old Cora, 3-year-old Dawson, and 8-month-old Callan were killed, Patrick has been steadfast. Lindsay Clancy is not a murderer. It's a strange dichotomy to have the Commonwealth's star witness backing the defendant in the case, saying she acted out of a mental health break. But that's
He is the witness everyone was waiting for. Patrick Clancy, father of 3 young children killed in January 2023. The prosecution puts him on the stand. But he arrives with a singular, devastating message. Lindsay Clancy is not a murderer. He does not arrive with fury. He arrives with grief, describing a woman he says acted from a mental health collapse, not criminal intent.
Okay, so you're saying that she had some anxiety at that time, is that correct?
Yeah.
How did that manifest, or how did you know that?
She just really struggled with the date of going back to work.
So immediately after having Cora, as she healed physically, what was her mood like when you're both on leave?
It was great. It was good.
Good, okay.
I mean, relatively, yeah.
The first sign was quiet. After the birth of their daughter Cora in 2017, Lindsay Clancy, a labor and delivery nurse at Mass General Hospital, struggled to return to work. She had anxiety, not crisis level, just the friction of a new mother being separated from her child. At the time, Patrick said he didn't think much of it. It was good.
No.
Relatively.
Did she seek treatment, or tell you she sought treatment after Dawson's birth?
Yeah, she got a therapist for a short period of time, but it didn't last very long.
Things seemed relatively normal.
After their second child, Dawson, born in 2019 and open breech delivery, the pattern deepened. She got a therapist for a short period. It didn't last very long. A box checked. A door barely opened, then closed. The public record shows it. The family lived it. But the record doesn't feel.
It was great. From what I could tell, it was relatively quick. It was during the day. We were both smiling after, and I don't think there was as much physical trauma.
Their third child, Callan, arrived in May 2022. That summer was, by Patrick's account, amazing. The beach, the boat, visitors, no red flags. But an official account of a perfect summer sits in the case file like a photograph facing the wrong way. You know it's there, but you cannot see what is creeping into the frame.
She said, I think it's really going to help with my anxiety and with going back to work.
And did she tell you how she was going to go about getting Zoloft?
Yeah, I asked her, how are you going to get Zoloft? It's a prescription.
By September 2022, the psychological decline accelerates. Lindsay tells Patrick she's going to start Zoloft to help with anxiety and the return to work. She tells him she'll just ask a doctor and they'll give it to you. A casual, almost bureaucratic acquisition of psychiatric medication. The kind of detail that later gets entered into evidence as Exhibit 2.
30 pills.
Okay. I mean, I don't have those exact numbers on how many she took, but there were adjustments made on the dosage of the Ativan. Mm-hmm. So that aligns with
But the question was, were you aware that only 6 pills were taken out of this prescription?
Prosecutors zero in on the numbers. The Zoloft prescription filled September 15th, only 7 pills taken. The Ativan filled October 26th, only 6 pills taken. Patrick states he wasn't keeping track of the number of pills. But the pills keep appearing in the record, silent artifacts of a treatment plan that wasn't followed.
Awful.
How so?
That was really where her big spiral started. She started to lose a lot of weight, and she became very depressed, and she was having a really hard time.
And did she describe to you some thoughts or feelings that she was having at that time?
Yeah, she started to say she was suicidal.
Then comes Seroquel, started December 6, 2022. Patrick describes the effect in one word: awful. That was really where her big spiral started. Weight loss, deep depression. And then the words, she started to say she was suicidal. A man on the stand under oath recounts his wife telling him she wanted to die.
And what was her response?
She described thoughts of hurting the kids or them having some sort of ailment. So like she was very worried that Cora had, whenever she had a stomach ache, she became overly worried that she was, had like a liver problem or something much more dramatic than it was.
Okay. But going back to that first part, she said she had thoughts of harming the kids. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And did she tell you whether or not she had specific thoughts of how she would harm the kids?
No.
But she said more. When asked about other thoughts, Lindsay described thoughts of hurting the kids. Not an external voice, not a command hallucination. Her own thoughts. She said it directly. Then, a minute later, she was making them lunch. Patrick answered the obvious question: no, he was not concerned for the kids' safety. He never saw Lindsay harm the kids.
On December 31st, 2022, Lindsay was taken to Mass Gen Hospital for suicidal ideations. The next day, she was taken to McClean Hospital, a psychiatric facility just west of Boston. She was treated there for several days, but
by year's end, December 31st, 2022, she is hospitalized for suicidal ideation. McClean Hospital, a psychiatric facility west of Boston, admits her. She is released on January 5th, just in time for her daughter's 5th birthday party. The discharge paperwork enters the file. The timeline tightens. Nobody asked. Nobody answered.
Were there any issues or problems that you were aware of while you were gone?
No. She encouraged me to go. She said, "You've just been inside a lot. You should go out." And it was fine.
And while you were there at brunch, she send you photos of the kids and text messages?
I think so, yeah.
January 14th, 10 days before the deaths, Patrick goes to brunch with friends. Lindsay encourages him to go. She sends photos of the kids while he's there. Text messages, time-stamped, entered into the record. The gap between what a text message shows and what it hides is wider than any court can measure. What do you do when the evidence of normalcy is the most terrifying thing in the file?
Were you aware that her mother had sent her a text saying something to the effect of, "I'm glad you're doing so much better"?
I became aware of that later, yeah.
But that
January 21st, Lindsay's parents visit. They leave after a normal weekend. Her mother sends a text. "I'm glad you're doing so much better." That text is now evidence. 3 days before the children are killed, an electronic record of relief sits frozen in a phone. The irony is not just cruel, it is structural.
Why did you send a photo of Dawson to Lindsay that morning?
Because he dressed himself completely for the first time.
And he was excited about that?
Yeah.
January 24th, the morning of. Lindsay takes Cora to a doctor's appointment alone. Patrick stays home with the boys. He sends a photo of Dawson, who dressed himself completely for the first time. Lindsay sends a photo of Cora back. The exchange is logged. The digital record shows a family operating.
No, she was having one of her best days.
One of her best days.
At 4:53 p.m., Lindsay texts Patrick asking if they can get takeout. She suggests a restaurant in Plymouth, a 20-minute drive, not the usual place. Further, the prosecution will argue premeditation. She needed him out of the house longer. Before he leaves, Patrick comes upstairs. That moment is now part of the permanent record. Nobody asked. Nobody answered.
I came upstairs. I took Callan for a minute, and I rocked him by my knees, kissed Cora on the head, and I said, "I'll be right back."
And what was Dawson doing when you were leaving?
He took Callan for a minute, rocked him by his knees, kissed Cora on the head. Dawson was on the couch, eating chicken nuggets. Lindsay held Callan. Her demeanor, he testified, was normal. He said he'd be right back.
Strangled to death with exercise bands. Their mother, then 32-year-old Lindsay, accepts full responsibility, saying she killed the children amid a mental health break. When Patrick returned home, he found Lindsay outside on the frozen ground. She jumped from a second-story window in an attempt to end her life. She survived the jump and the slashes to her wrists and neck, but she's permanently paralyzed from the waist down. Lindsay has since pleaded not guilty to 3 murders.
He returned to find all 3 children strangled with exercise bands in the basement. Lindsay lay outside on the frozen ground. She had jumped from a second-story window. She survived. Permanently paralyzed from the waist down. She accepts full responsibility. She pleads not guilty, citing the Massachusetts statute on criminal responsibility. The legal machinery now has to answer an impossible question: was she of sound mind?
No, she was having one of her best days.
The Clancy family made national headlines back in January of 2020.
She was having one of her best days. That statement is now a legal exhibit, a psychological cipher, and a national headline compressed into 8 words. It functions as both a defense and a condemnation, depending on who reads it. The paperwork already knew.
They built a snowman, and they did some art projects.
And how did you know this was happening?
She texted me a picture.
So Lindsay was continuing to text you and send you photographs throughout that day?
They built a snowman that day. They did art projects. She texted him pictures. The day was documented in real time. Then the documentation stopped. Find the Commonwealth's exhibit list from this trial. The text messages, the pharmacy records, the Apple Map search. Look at what was entered and then ask in the comments, at what exact minute does a normal day become a crime scene? And why does the record never show that line?